Welcome back, everyone, to AI Explained. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into how the conversation around AI risk and its future has been, rapidly evolving.
Hmm.
We've got articles, research papers, even some political commentary,
Yeah.
all kind of pointing to, a dramatic shift in the narrative over the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's really interesting what we're seeing here. So in 2023, the dominant theme was one of caution,
Right.
even fear. You had major figures like Elon Musk and some leading AI researchers calling for, a pause in development
Mm-hmm.
to address the potential dangers of advanced AI, but then just a year later,
Yeah.
the pendulum kind of swung dramatically in the other direction,
Yeah.
with Silicon Valley pushing for this rapid and unregulated AI advancement.
So let's unpack this shift a little bit. You mentioned Elon Musk.
Right.
And it was interesting how he was one of the most vocal proponents of the AI doom scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, he continued investing heavily in AI.
Right.
So it almost seems like a contradiction.
Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily about rejecting AI outright,
Right.
but rather about how to manage the risk and maybe
Right.
believing that the best way to manage that risk is to be actively involved in its development
Okay.
and potentially influence it from within.
Interesting. So steering it in a direction that benefits humanity.
Exactly.
And it seemed like in 2023, there was a real push to do that with government actions,
Mm-hmm.
like President Biden's executive order on AI safety.
Right.
And even internal shakeups at companies like OpenAI.
Yeah, I mean, Biden's executive order really signaled that willingness at the highest level of government to grapple with these really complex issues.
For sure.
And then that brief period where OpenAI's board fired Sam Altman over safety concerns seemed like a real turning point,
Yeah.
where ethical concerns were actually going to take precedence over
Right.
the just relentless drive for innovation and advancement.
It seemed like a really big moment.
It did.
But then in 2024, the narrative kind of took a hard right turn.
A sharp turn, yeah.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, Mark Andreessen,
Okay.
with his venture capital firm A16s,
Right.
he wrote this essay called Why AI Will Save the World.
I remember that.
And that became like a rallying cry
Mhm.
for the techno-optimist camp, who argue that unfettered AI development is essential for progress
Okay.
and for competing with China.
Interesting. And it's interesting how A16s wasn't just advocating for this viewpoint, but also actively lobbying
Yeah.
against any kind of regulation that might
Yeah.
hinder their investments.
Exactly.
And their close ties to the incoming Trump administration, particularly with Sriram Krishnan,
Mhm.
like a senior advisor, suggests that we might see a very different approach to
Yeah.
AI policy under a new administration.
For sure. So, what's important for you to consider here is the influence of venture capital
Right.
and its potential impact on policy decisions.
Okay.
Is unfettered innovation always beneficial?
Mhm.
At what point does the pursuit of profit outweigh potential societal risks? That's a good question.
These are questions we need to be asking ourselves as this technology continues to develop.
Absolutely.
Yay.
And this brings us to a real-world example of this tension playing out right here in California
Okay.
with SB 2047.
Yes, SB 4047. So this bill aimed to prevent catastrophic risks from advanced AI
Okay.
and had the support of some of the biggest names in AI research,
Wow.
including Jeffrey Hinton and Yoshua Bengio.
But it ultimately failed.
It did vetoed by Governor Newsom,
Yeah.
despite passing the legislature.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So this controversy surrounding SB 2047,
Mhm.
I feel like it really exposes the complexities
It does.
of regulating emerging technology.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you had these prominent researchers
Right, yeah.
supporting the bill,
Mhm.
arguing that the potential risks of advanced AI are just too great to ignore.
Right.
But on the other hand, you had groups like Y Combinator and A16s
Yeah.
actively campaigning against the bill.
Yeah, there were even accusations of misinformation campaigns
Was there?
aimed at discrediting the bill and influencing public opinion.
Wow.
And figures like Vinod Khosla publicly criticized the bill's author, calling him clueless about AI.
So is this a case of, a missed opportunity to regulate a potentially dangerous technology?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it, as its critics argued, a misguided overreach that could have stifled innovation?
Yeah,
I mean, the debate continues.
it definitely does. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is that while this whole debate over, catastrophic risks and regulations going on,
Right.
we're already seeing some real-world examples of AI's potential downsides, even with current technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one that comes to mind that really highlights this is character.
Right.
AI,
Oh, yeah.
a company that A16's ironically has invested in.
Right. Character.ai, for those unfamiliar, is a platform that allows users to create and interact with AI chatbots.
Hmm.
So the idea was to kind of use AI for like interactive storytelling and companionship,
Right.
but it's now facing some pretty serious legal challenges.
Yeah, those challenges stem from allegations that the platform has been used for harmful purposes, including interactions that may have contributed to the tragic suicide of a young user.
Yeah, this case is still unfolding,
Wow.
but it really underscores a crucial point. The risks associated with AI aren't just hypothetical or futuristic.
Right.
They're actually happening right now,
Yeah.
impacting real people in very tangible ways.
It's a stark reminder that even seemingly safe AI applications can have these unintended consequences.
Yeah.
And it raises questions about the ethical responsibilities of developers and investors.
Absolutely. It also highlights the urgent need for proactive measures
Hmm.
to address potential harms. We can't wait for these tragedies to occur before we act.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do we balance this incredible potential of AI
Right.
with the need to mitigate its risks?
That is the million-dollar question. While there's no easy answer,
Sure.
I think the key lies in shifting our focus from purely technological advancement
Okay.
to a more holistic approach
Yeah.
that considers the societal and ethical implications of AI.
So it's not just about building better algorithms. It's
Right.
about building better systems of governance and accountability
Exactly.
around those algorithms.
Precisely. We need to foster a culture of responsible AI development
Okay.
where ethical considerations are baked into the very design
Right.
and implementation of these systems.
This brings to mind the concept of black box algorithms,
Yeah.
which you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Could you explain that a bit further for our listeners?
Sure. So black box algorithms refer to AI systems where the decision-making process is kind of opaque,
Okay.
even to the developers.
So we can see the input and the output,
Right.
but we don't fully understand the steps in between.
Exactly. And this lack of transparency can be really problematic, especially in sensitive areas like healthcare finance or criminal justice.
So if we're relying on AI to make these important decisions,
Right.
we need to be able to understand how those decisions are being made.
Absolutely. Transparency is crucial for building trust and ensuring accountability.
Yeah.
If we can't understand how an AI system is arriving at its conclusions,
Right.
how can we be sure that it's operating fairly and ethically?
And it seems like the need for transparency becomes even more critical when you consider the potential for bias in AI systems.
Oh, absolutely. AI systems are often trained on these massive data sets that reflect existing societal biases.
Right.
And if we're not careful, those biases can be amplified and perpetuated by the algorithms, leading to discriminatory outcomes.
We've already seen examples of this happening in areas like hiring, lending,
Mm-hmm.
and even facial recognition technology.
That's right. And it highlights the need for rigorous testing and ongoing monitoring to ensure that AI systems are fair and equitable for everyone.
For sure.
We can't just assume that because a system is automated, it's inherently objective or unbiased.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the human choices
Exactly.
that go into designing, developing, and deploying that technology.
Yes, and it's about acknowledging that AI is not this neutral tool. It's a reflection of our values, our priorities, and our biases. If we want AI to benefit humanity as a whole, we need to be intentional and responsible in how we shape it.
This brings us back to the debate over regulation. Some argue that regulation stifles innovation,
Right.
while others believe that it's necessary to guide AI development in a safe and ethical direction.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I believe that sensible, well-crafted regulations are essential for fostering responsible AI innovation.
But also the public.
It has to.
After all, it's our lives that will be most affected by the rise of AI.
Absolutely. We all have a stake in the future of AI, and we all need to be part of shaping it.
So what can individuals do to make a difference? It often feels like such a massive, complex issue
Right.
that it's hard to know where to even begin.
That's a great question, and one I think many people are asking. The first step is to become more informed about AI,
Yeah.
its potential benefits, and its risks.
And there are a lot of great resources available online and in libraries to help people do that.
There are. We can also demand greater transparency from the companies developing and deploying AI systems.
Okay.
Asked questions, hold them accountable for the choices they make.
It's about empowering ourselves to be informed consumers and citizens in the age of AI.
Exactly. And ultimately, it's about recognizing that the future of AI is not predetermined.
Right.
It's being shaped right now by the choices we make, the conversations we have, and the actions we take.
Yeah, it really feels like we're at this like pivotal moment in history. AI has this potential to revolutionize so many aspects of our lives,
Mm-hmm.
but it also comes with these, complex challenges and risks that we need to address.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a time for thoughtful consideration,
Yeah.
dialogue, and most importantly, action. We need to be proactive in shaping the future of AI.
I'm curious, in the midst of all this, like what gives you hope?
Hmm.
It's easy to get overwhelmed by the sheer scale of these challenges.
You know what gives me hope is the growing awareness and engagement around AI.
Mhm.
More people are asking questions, demanding accountability, and seeking solutions.
Mhm.
We're starting to see a shift from a purely technology-focused view of AI to a more human-centered one.
So we're finally realizing that AI isn't just about algorithms and code.
Right.
It's about people.
It is.
It's about how this technology impacts our lives, our societies, and our future.
Exactly. And that realization is crucial because it opens the door for a more ethical and responsible approach to AI development.
Okay.
It's no longer just about what we can do with AI,
Right.
but what we should do.
So what should we do? What are some concrete steps that we can take to make sure that AI benefits humanity as a whole?
Well, one of the most important things is prioritizing ethical considerations in AI research and development.
Okay.
So that means going beyond just technical efficiency
Right.
and incorporating values like fairness, transparency, accountability, and human well-being into the very design of these systems.
It's about building AI with a conscience.
Yes.
Making sure that it aligns with our values as a society.
And that requires a collaborative approach
Yeah.
involving not just computer scientists and engineers,
Mm.
but also ethicists, social scientists, legal experts, and policymakers.
We've talked a lot about bias in AI systems.
Right.
How can we ensure that these systems are fair and equitable for everyone?
Yeah.
Especially given the fact that they're often trained on data that reflects existing societal biases.
That's a critical point. We need to develop more robust methods for detecting and mitigating bias in AI.
Okay.
This involves carefully curating training data,
Right.
developing algorithms that are more sensitive to potential biases, and implementing rigorous testing and auditing processes.
And we need to make sure that these testing and auditing processes are ongoing
Yes.
because AI systems are constantly learning and evolving.
Exactly. What might seem fair and unbiased today could become problematic as the system evolves.
Transparency is another key piece of the puzzle, right?
It is.
We need to be able to understand how AI systems are making decisions, especially when those decisions have a significant impact on our lives.
Transparency is essential for building trust and ensuring accountability. When AI systems are opaque,
Right.
it can create a sense of mistrust and disempowerment.
Yeah.
People need to feel like they understand how these systems work
Okay.
and have a say in how they are used.
So how do we move towards greater transparency in AI? Is it about making the algorithms themselves more understandable? Or is it more about making the decision-making process more transparent?
It's likely a combination of both.
Okay.
In some cases, it might be possible to develop algorithms that are inherently more interpretable, where the decision-making logic is easier for humans to understand.
Yeah.
But even when that's not possible,
Right.
we need to be able to explain the rationale behind an AI's decisions,
Okay.
providing clear and understandable justifications.
And this ties back to the role of regulation. Can regulations help to promote transparency and accountability in AI development and deployment?
Absolutely. Regulations can establish clear guidelines and standards for transparency, requiring companies to disclose information about how their AI systems work, what data they are trained on, and how they are being used.
This also brings up the point of who is responsible when things go wrong.
Yes.
If an AI system makes a harmful decision, who is held accountable? Is it the developers, the companies deploying the technology, or the users themselves?
This is a really complex legal and ethical question that's still being debated.
Yeah.
It's likely that responsibility will be shared among various stakeholders, depending on the specific circumstances. But establishing clear lines of accountability is crucial for ensuring that AI is used safely and ethically.
It seems like navigating the ethical challenges of AI requires a shift in mindset.
It does.
We need to move away from the idea of AI as a purely technological tool and start thinking of it as this powerful force that can shape our society and our future.
I think you're right. It requires us to think critically about the values we want to embed in AI systems,
Yeah.
the safeguards we need to put in place,
Right.
and the future we want to create with this technology.
It's a call to action for all of us.
It is.
Researchers,
Yeah.
developers, policymakers, business leaders, and everyday citizens
Everyone.
to engage in this thoughtful dialogue and take responsibility for shaping the future of AI.
We are all stakeholders in this journey, and the choices we make today will determine the course of AI for generations to come.
Well, thank you for joining us today for this deep dive into the world of artificial intelligence.
Of course,
It's a topic that's both fascinating and incredibly complex,
it is.
and we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, I encourage everyone listening to continue exploring these issues, stay informed, and engage in these conversations about the future of AI.
And if you found this discussion insightful, please subscribe to our channel for more deep dives
Yes.
into fascinating and timely topics. I've got a lot more to explore, and we're excited to have you join us on this journey of discovery.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening.